Okay, so here we are with one of our warm-up drills we're going to show. So we do a little bit of different drills every time my mom works out because of the benefit of working with her. So we kind of switch it up and make her body have a guessing game all the time. But these, what you can see, they're called band TKEs. The TKE stands for terminal knee extension. It's basically, you can see, she's extending her knee while her foot is stable on the ground. So that's kind of the idea of the name. And the idea of this is, you can see the band is going behind her knee. It's actually just above the crease of her knee. So if we look down, the band's at about the height of her knee. And the band is right above the crease. So that way we're pulling on the upper leg bone, not pulling at the inside of the kneecap, or the knee joint. And what she's doing is she's letting her heel come up off the ground, and then she's pressing her heel into the ground and flexing her quads really hard. So it's almost like you're shoving your heel into the ground as hard as you can. What this does, this helps to kind of fire the quadricep muscles, and it makes them fire more evenly. So if somebody's naturally teardrop, like the inside dominant, and they don't really turn on their outer quad very well, doing this before you squat or any kind of leg motions, leg exercises, will help kind of trigger that to turn on, or vice versa. So if they have a quad muscle that's kind of slow to catching on, this will work. So whenever you're ready, Mom, we can switch to the other side. So you can see again, she's just going to step in to the band, and again the band goes above the knee, and then she steps back to get the tension that she wants. We're going to have our feet pretty narrow so that we can balance on that non-working leg well and not get thrown off. And then she's going to keep her feet even with each other. You'll see people tend to kind of take that back, that non-working leg, and slide it too far back. So this makes sure that the knee gets worked evenly per side, and we're actually using that working leg. So if you stagger your stance too much, it'll take away the pressure in the quad. So again, these is a really good exercise or a drill for, like, if somebody has creaky knees before they squat or leg press or something. This will help kind of calm down some of that knee pain, and it helps to balance out the quadriceps. Okay, so that's TKEs, terminal knee extensions. Okay, so this is one of our other warm-up drills we're using today. It's a hip circle, so made by Mark Bell. It's sold at howmuchyoubench.net. And basically it's just an elastic band that goes around the legs. And there's a couple different ways to use this. What we're doing right now is just side shuffles. So it would be almost as if you're starting into a squat. So my mom would have hinged at her hips and her knees, and she wants to make sure that she stays leaning forward, so that way it better loads the hips. People will tend to go more upright and they shoot their knees forward to deload the pressure in the hips and transfer it more to their quads, which are already stronger. So you want to make sure if you're doing this exercise, you stay leaning forward, you keep the knees behind the toes, and you actually work your hips. So a lot of people do this thinking they're working their hips, but they're accidentally cheating and not getting the best out of the exercise. So in the sets and reps, kind of depends on the person. They have different strengths of bands. So we have a bunch at our gym. Let me flip over there and zoom in. So we got a bunch over there so people can pick whichever ones they want. Flip back over. So, but that's the idea of this, is it works internal, external rotation, and it works the glutes. And it does kind of push some blood into the ankles, knees, low back and stuff, but it's primarily a glute-based or hip-based warm-up. Cool. Okay, the last drill we're going to show is called Stomps, and we're basically using bands for this. We have Sornex racks. So Sornex is a company that makes a lot of exercise equipment. So there you go, that's the name of the company. So in these racks, you can see all these holes everywhere. It allows us to add band pegs to do banded exercises. So we have some pegs in, and this is generally going to be around the person's like knee height or a little above. But you can see it gives her something to push down into those bands. And the top of it, we want the person to be at parallel, assuming they have pretty healthy knees. If they have banged up knees, you can kind of adjust the height. So, but the idea of this, you can see, is she has her balancing leg far back, and the working leg is out in front. This position allows her to focus more on her glutes and hamstrings. In a second, she's going to do her other leg, and then we're going to switch to a different variation that's more quads. But this is really good for people who have knee pain as well. So this warms up the knee and the hip, kind of like a combination. So we showed the banded TKEs where the person backed up and kind of did a knee warm up. We showed the hip circle where my mom danced around there with side shuffles to work on the hip. So this kind of targets both. So it's kind of like a step up, but instead of you stepping up, the thing you're stepping on comes down. So I learned of this as when I worked at UPMC up in Pittsburgh for rehab, and this is what we had people do with hip and knee injuries. So this helps them kind of warm up those muscles. It's very easy, constant tension on the joints, so you're not having any like major shocks or anything into the body. And the band tension is whatever they would need to be able to feel the squeeze of the muscle. So you don't want them just throwing the thing down and bouncing back up. They should be able to squeeze down into it and actually hold the band at the bottom if they wanted to. So she's going to come forward now, and we're going to go into the other variation. So the variation where her back leg was further back is more glute and hamstring based. This is more knee based. So you can see the knee is way out in front of the toes at the top. And again, this depends on the person. So for her, she's healthy. So we're going to use this variation to kind of warm up the muscles at the knee. And this gets her ready. You can see we have set up for squats. So we're getting her ready for squatting. So at the bottom of her squat, she's going to have not quite this much of a knee bend, but she's going to have a knee bend beyond 90 degrees. So we want to go ahead and kind of wake those muscles up and make sure the quad musculature down by the knee is ready for that type of motion. So this is, again, another exercise you can use if somebody complains of having knee pain in their squat or any kind of leg press motion. And again, this is really good if somebody has kind of like muscular imbalances or muscular control issues. So if a person's coming down to the bottom of a squat, or during some of their leg motions like walking lunges and stuff, their knees are always shaking and wobbling around, this helps them build control through the ankle, knee, and hip. It's mostly the knee and the hip, but it helps them build control within those joints. And especially when you put somebody on this the first time, their foot's going to go crazy. So eventually they'll learn to control that wobble, and you'll get a really good warm-up into those joints. And you also get nice blood flow and control through the joints and muscles as well. Okay, excellent.